So this branch, you got a few options. So you see how this is called a Reisentraub tomato. This variety actually tends to spread out and branch multiple times. So it's kind of, this is the one type of variety that I think is almost impossible to keep to. It's very difficult to keep to like a single stalk or a certain number of stalks because it just wants to spread. And it makes these huge clusters of cherry tomatoes. You'll see in an update, in another video, I'll film it once all the fruit is set, but it makes these huge clusters of small cherry tomatoes. So all I'm gonna try to do here for a plant like this is I'm gonna prune it up until it's above the first ring, so that any side branch will have at least the support of this first ring. And so like this side branch right here, I'm just gonna get rid of it, because otherwise it's just gonna grow and then flop over. So, and that's really, and you don't have to be afraid of pruning too heavily. You can't really hurt a tomato plant, an indeterminate tomato plant, unless you remove all the apical air stems. And a plant like this, honestly, even if you did that, it would just branch out from the sides. The difference between an indeterminate and a determinate tomato is a determinate tomato grows to a certain size, stops, and then sets all the fruit at once. An indeterminate tomato just keeps branching and binding indefinitely until it gets cold enough that the plant dies or something kills the plant. So I'm basically pruning it up so that any of the branches will start branching out above this ring. So I'm just going to get rid of this. This is, could argue this is preference. As you can see, all three of them are going into three different directions. I pruned it all the way up and I left this part clear. And that's because I want to make sure that every branch that grows will be supported by the cage. So depending on what you're growing with, you can adjust based on that. But to prevent disease, for that purpose, all you really need to make sure is that there are no leaves touching the ground. See, like that leaf right there? That's a big no-no. That's just inviting disease. So I'm going to go and prune all those. This is going to make it in here. So let me see. So this is actually an indeterminate variety. This is a determinate variety. So for determinate varieties, the one before the Reisentraub, that's an indeterminate. For determinate varieties, you don't want to over prune, because what will happen is if you keep pruning the shoots, then you'll eventually make it so that you get a lot less fruit. So you just want to focus on keeping the plant healthy. So I'm just going to take out leaves that will interfere with this one, anything that's touching the ground. And I usually do take out the very bottom shoots if I feel that they're too close to the ground. But in this case, I think I will leave all these and I'll let it continue. Just took out any of those leaves touching the ground. See? So that's it. This one here might start touching soon, so I'm just gonna give it a little prune right here. So the reason why you want to do that is when the leaves are too close to the ground, anytime water splashes soil onto the leaf, you're basically potentially infecting that leaf with spores of some kind of disease, fungus or something else. So blight spores live in the soil, and so every time you splash it, you're risking infecting the plant. So by keeping it clean, you prevent all those types of issues. You can even just use your fingers. If you just grab a leaf and you twist it sideways, usually it'll just pop right off. Just like that. I'm gonna take this one off. It's a little close. So this is a whole shoot. But again, for determinate tomatoes, this is another determinate variety. You don't want to overdo that. Just the very bottom ones to keep it clean, but that's about it. So you see how this one's a little low? Just getting rid of it. This one kind of similar. Okay. All of these too low to the ground. even though they're main apical meristems, they're side shoots. These will, an apical meristem is basically the tip, the growing tip of a plant. So all these shoots will continue to grow. This stem here, you could actually put it in some soil and it could root, and you could make a clone of this plant and start a new plant. So, and tomatoes are fairly easy to root, so you could get cuttings like this when you're getting side shoots and make more plants if you wanted to. They don't all make it, but so anything that I feel like is not gonna grow as part of this cage or inside of the cage, I'm gonna prune it. So, and this is an indeterminate variety, so I'm not worried. Even if I over prune it, it'll just branch out even more later. So when you're growing in a cage, just feel free to move the plant around and move the shoots and leaves to help get more support out of that cage. This is going to grow as a single stalk, so I will be pinching off all side shoots.
Because I forget some stuff.